Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Mia here. Before we get started with the video, allow me to please apologize for the background noise you're hearing. I can't find a quiet place indoor where I can record and have some natural lighting, so I came outside to the lanai, and it is also loud out here because my neighbor has been cutting his grass for what seems an eternity. I've been out here waiting for him to finish for literally possibly almost 2 hours, and it's still going on, and I think it will go on for the rest of the day. So before the sun finally sets, let's go ahead and get started with this video, and hopefully the noise in the background is not too distracting for you guys. So today's video is going to be a little bit of a let's chat catch up video, and also my wrap up for the month of September, as well as my TBR for the month of October. So a lot of things have happened since I last uploaded a video. For example, we moved, so I'm no longer living in that small apartment where I was. I really like that small apartment. I have put so much time, money and effort into making it homey and making it work, because it was very small. That apartment was about 220 square feet, so it was teeny tiny, but I loved the location. The location was just the best. It was right in the center of downtown. You could walk anywhere you wanted to, and now I am much farther from downtown. I want to say like 30 minutes away from downtown in a car ride. So that's a downside, but at the same time I've got a lot more room and much more space here where I am now, which is a plus. Also, of course, the Hurricane Irma happened, and that left us with no electricity and no water for almost 2 weeks. So that's part of why I wasn't able to record a video for you guys. It was just very difficult. It was so extremely hot. There was no escaping the heat and the humidity, and it was honestly horrible. You didn't want to do anything or go anywhere. It was just so extremely hot. And then, oh, I don't think I've told you this, but this is very exciting news. I don't think I've shared it with you guys yet, but my boyfriend and I are having a baby, and we didn't know the gender, and we were dying to find out. And finally, about, I want to say a week, almost a week ago, we finally found out. We had a super fun gender reveal party, and everyone was super excited to find out that it's gonna be a girl. So yay, we're very happy about that. So in short, I just didn't dedicate too much time to my reading. Therefore, my wrap up for the month of September is kind of pathetic. It is just 4 books, and as you can see, one of those 4 books is a children's book, which is a reread for me, and then 2 are mangas, which again are very easy and fast to read, and the last one is the only actual book that I read during the month of September. So that's what my reading was like during last month. I did start reading other things as well, I just didn't get to finish them, which I'll talk about those later on in the video. So let's go ahead and get into the books that I actually finished reading during that last month, and I'll tell you a little bit of what I think of them. So the first book that I finished reading is Bring on Fire, A Month of Madness, and this is by Susanna Cahalan. This is a non-fiction book about something that happened to her for about a month, or a little bit longer than a month actually, where she pretty much lost her mind and she was having all the side effects, but nobody could figure out what was wrong with her. No one could narrow it down and find out what was causing her those symptoms, because a lot of her testings and all of the things that the doctors were looking into were coming back normal, but she was not acting normally. So it took a while. It was kind of like an episode of House, if you've ever watched that show, which I adore. So this was just very interesting all around. The best parts were when they were trying so desperately to find out what's wrong with her, and you have all these doctors just trying to figure out what is the problem and doing all these kinds of different tests on her, and she also managed, in the way that she wrote it, she made it very informative, and there's a lot of facts in the story. Well, of course, it's a non-fiction book, but she uses a lot of medical terminology, and there's a lot of facts included as well. And the way that she added all of those little factors to her book made it just very easy to understand and very easy to really put yourself in her shoes, and you could kind of relate also with the family members that were affected. So you've got some family relations and how they were affected by what was happening to her. You've got also her, you know, feelings and her perspective, especially because she doesn't remember a lot of what happened. She is basing her story pretty much on like doctors telling her what happened, or there's also some camera shots from the hospital of how she was acting that she's describing in detail and stuff like that. But for the most part, I really enjoy the story. I mean, it's very nerve-wracking to think that something like that could happen to somebody, but it was just very interesting in the medical aspect and also in the psychological aspect as to how you deal with something like that and what happens afterwards once you're cured and you have all of these side effects pretty much still kind of bugging you, because it changes you in a way. So anyways, I thought it was a fantastic read. I would definitely recommend this book. It was just a very well written book and very enjoyable to read. I ended up giving this, I believe, 4 or 5 stars. I'm very sorry if I'm kind of losing track of what I want to say. I'm just feeling a little bit disoriented because of all the noise and how long I've been waiting out here, that I'm a little bit frustrated. So I feel like my mind and my thoughts are just kind of all over the place. I'll try to gather them and just keep it a little bit more cohesive. But the next thing that I read is Tokyo Ghoul Volume 11. I have spoken about this anime series slash manga series before. I've been watching the anime and reading the manga as well. And I am just so happy to own this and to have read it, because this is definitely my favorite manga at the time. It is just so dark and it's so crazy, but I love it so much. I doubt that you haven't heard this yet, especially if you've been watching my channel, but pretty much this follows a regular guy who one day ends up getting attacked by a ghoul. He ends up meeting this girl ghoul who he really likes. He doesn't know she's a ghoul, and she ends up trying to eat him. There's an accident that takes place, and pretty much he ends up half human, half ghoul. Basically, his mentality, him as a person, as a human, is still the same, but his body has changed, so his body is now a ghoul. So pretty much he's fighting all of this, what is right and what is wrong, different feelings, and he doesn't really know what to do, and it's just it evolves so much that I don't really know how to get to this point, because I would definitely spoil you. But pretty much that's how the story begins, with him having issues such as how does he feed and what does he do. He finds them morally wrong, so he doesn't know what is right anymore and what is wrong, and he doesn't know what he is and who he is anymore. He pretty much lost all of that. But it all turns very south, and it gets very dark, and it's just very gothic, and I just love it to pieces. So if you have not picked up this, please do. It is very graphic, so there is a lot of blood and there's a lot of aggression in these books, but I think they're absolutely fantastic. Love it. I can't wait to pick up the next volume. I of course gave it 5 out of 5 stars. The other manga that I picked up is another favorite of mine, and that is Inuyasha. I have been obsessed with this anime for many years. I first watched it when I was a teenager, and since then I have purchased the entire series in DVD, and I have watched it multiple times, all the movies, everything, because I love it. So definitely one of my favorites. So I decided about a year ago, I want to say, to pick up the mangas and read them and compare them to the anime and see if I enjoy the manga as much as I enjoy the anime. And that's what I did, but I only read the first volume. Now these are special volumes that each hold 3 volumes in one. So the first one had the first 3 volumes and this one had the second set of 3 volumes. So this one ends in volume 6. And it was just as enjoyable as I thought it was going to be. It is very thick, but of course it's a manga, so you read it quite fast. And this entire storyline is another that is kind of dark, but this has a little bit more romance into it. Pretty much this follows a young girl who lives in present Tokyo time, and she lives in the temple. And somehow she ends up traveling through the well in the temple back in time to a different era in Japan. So she travels back, I think it's 500 years or something like that. So she ends up meeting here a young half-demon named Inuyasha. His father was a full-fledged demon and his mother was a human. So he's a half-demon, therefore he doesn't really have a place in this world. He's not quite accepted by the demons and he's not accepted by the humans either because he's feared by them. So this girl turned out to be a reincarnation of a priestess of that time who had died 50 years prior. And she doesn't really understand everything at first, but pretty much that priestess was one who protected this specific Yule in this world that gives both demons or humans alike a lot of power. And it pretty much is advertised as the Yule that can grant whichever wish you have and make it a reality. So of course both demons and humans alike are always fighting for this Yule, and this priestess was the assigned protector of that Yule. She ended up dying and she ended up being reincarnated in this young girl. So the Yule was in her body. A demon tried to possess the Yule, so he ripped it out of her body. However, during her attempts to get the Yule back together with the half-demon, she ended up shattering the Yule into thousands and thousands of little shards, and all of those shards got spread throughout Japan, or well, throughout the world, but the whole story takes place in Japan, so it gets spread out throughout Japan, and she ends up having to go on this journey with Inuyasha in order to collect all the Yules and restored the original, all the Yule shards, and restored it to the original Yule. And of course there's a lot of fighting throughout the way. There's a lot of different evil demons and corrupted humans who are after these shards as well, or who have become you know, affected by the pieces of the Yule that were scattered and whatnot. So there's a lot of action, there's a lot of blood, and I just love it so much. There's other characters that get involved into this, introduced into the story later on as well, but it's just one of the best fully completed animes I've ever watched in my life. It just leaves you so satisfied, and I think the manga is gonna be the same. So far, I'm really enjoying it. I'm sorry you guys, I feel like I'm talking so much today. I'll try to rush a little bit more so that this video doesn't take forever. Another book I finished reading during this last month was A Little Prince, or The Little Prince. I can't pronounce the name of the author, but I'm sure you are all aware of who it is, and I'm sure you have at some point in your life heard about this story. This is a reread for me, and I used to love this story when I was younger. I've only read it in Spanish before, so the English version was new to me, but the message was the same, and I just fully enjoyed this story. Of course, another 5-star read for me. Also, Inuyasha was a 5-star. I'm not sure if I mentioned that as well. So even though I read very little, the reads that I had during this month were all very, very good. So that's all that I read during the month of September. Like I said, it was a little bit of a letdown. I did start reading other books that are massive, and I didn't get to finish them, but I do plan on continuing reading them onto the next month. These are gonna take me a little while to finish. The first book is actually short. I just haven't been dedicating a lot of time to reading it. But this one here is Redder Than Blood, and this is by Tanith Lee. This is a series of short stories. They're like fairy tale retellings, and they are very dark and a little bit confusing, but they're just this very dark retellings. So far I am really enjoying it, because even though of course a lot of the aspects of the original tales are still in these stories, she did manage to, I think it's a she, I'm so sorry if I changed your gender, but the author have managed to really keeping that essence from the original story, adding their own twist, and I've just really enjoyed it so far. I look forward to finishing it. I'm not very far, honestly. I am only on page 75, so I haven't gotten far at all in this book. But yeah, another one I plan on continuing reading during the month of October. If you've been watching my channel for a little while, you know that I've been trying to read It by Stephen King, and I'm failing miserably. I really love it though. Like, I'm enjoying the story so very much, but unfortunately it's taking me forever. When I pick it up and I start reading, I'm loving it, but as soon as I put it down, it just takes me forever to pick it up again. I think it's mainly because I tend to prefer reading laying down in bed, and this book is just way too heavy to be able to hold it comfortably and read that way. So I think that's what's preventing me from picking it up more often. Right now I'm in page 176, which is nothing because this book is over 1,000 pages long. So I have ways to go, but I will continue reading it in October. I think that the spookiness of the month of October is going to motivate me to read this book more. So hopefully that's the case and I can make some progress on that book. I doubt that I'll be able to finish it, but at the very least I can hopefully put a dent into the story rather than 100-something pages. And the last book that I am currently reading, that I started reading last month but didn't finish, is another Stephen King book, and this is 4 Past Midnight. I have been reading this book for a long time now, because this book has 4 short stories that are not that short, and I started reading it a while back. I read 2 stories and now I'm reading the 3rd one. So the 3rd story is the one that I've been wanting to read. I've read so far I think like 200 pages of that story, and I think I still have like 100 and something, close to 200 pages left of that story. This is another enormous book. All 4 stories total almost 1,000 pages. So I do hope to finish the story that I'm currently reading, which is The Library Police. Very interesting, very enjoyable so far, and who knows, maybe I'll continue reading the 4th and last story in this book and perhaps finishing the whole book. We'll see, it might happen this month. Now quickly onto the books that I want to read during the month of October. I try to keep my TBR a little bit more reasonable, because last month's TBR was crazy and it was completely unattainable. So this month I try to keep it a little bit more real, so that the amount of books that I'm going to be reading is much more doable than last month. So I definitely want to pick up volume 12 of Tokyo Ghoul, of course. I just can't wait to continue with this series because I'm enjoying it so very much. And I believe there's 14 volumes out, so I'll take my time with this one. I'll probably read one each month so that I don't, you know, crave it later and can't get my hands on it. So this is the one that I'm picking up next. I just told you what this story is about, so I'm not gonna repeat it now. But yeah, that's what I want to pick up first during this month. I've yet to read anything. I know it's already a week into the month and I've not read a damn thing. So hopefully I start reading more. I feel like I'm in a slump though, so I need to get out of this. Another book I really want to read this month is Fell Beneath Fairyland and Let the Revels There by Catherine and Valenti. This is the 2nd book in The Girl Who Circumnavigated Fairyland in the Shape of Her Own Making, which I read about a year ago and I absolutely loved. So I can't wait to get into this story. It has an essence of Alice in Wonderland in many ways. Like, it's kind of magical like that, and it's mysterious, and it pretty much follows a young girl, I believe her name is September, and she is not very happy or impressed with her common lifestyle, so she ends up traveling to Fairyland. But Fairyland turned out to be a little bit different than what she thought it would be, and she faced some difficulties during her time in Fairyland, and assuming this is her returning to Fairyland, of course. I don't really know nothing else about what this particular book is gonna tell me. I jumped into the first book not knowing much more than what the title told me, and I plan on doing the same thing for all of the books in this series. But the writing style is the best part, I think. Such a beautiful writing style in these books, and the characters were also very enjoyable, so I'm really looking forward to jumping into this one. It's perfect for that October kind of mood. Another book I really want to finish reading this month is In a Dark Wood, and this is a novel by Ruth Ware. Again, I don't know anything about this book, and I want to keep it that way. I tend to prefer books that are mystery related or books that are horror related to jump into those stories completely blind. So that's what I intend to do with this one as well. Out of all of the books that I took out of the library last month, I ended up renewing two, the one that I have been reading that I haven't finished yet, and this one, which is still very interesting and I can't wait to read it. And that book is Ragdoll by Daniel Cole. And there's so much noise again. I'm gonna throw a party when my neighbor finishes his yard. I'm just gonna be so happy. But anyways, this just seems very, very interesting for what I read in the back. The book pretty much follows a detective who is trying to solve a case where a body has been found, and that body has been composed of other body pieces and is referred to as the Ragdoll. So this detective is trying to find out the killer of all these multiple people who ended up creating this Frankenstein-like doll. So it sounds very, very interesting, and I just can't wait to pick this up and enjoying it. And the last thing that I really, really want to finish reading during this month is going to be Saga Volume 7. I can't believe it's taken me so long to get my hands on this volume. This is a comic book that I have been fully enjoying. I mean, the series. I've been fully enjoying the series, and I just can't wait to continue. Can't wait to continue and see what happens. So this is one I definitely want to pick up. I'm sure you have heard about this by now, but pretty much it follows a couple who are each from enemy places. Like, one is from the planet and the other one is from that planet's moon. But that planet and its moon have been at war for many years, and they obviously don't get along. They hate each other. However, these two individuals love each other. They fell in love with each other. They ended up having a baby, which is seen as the worst thing that you could possibly do by both governments, and they have been persecuted since then, and of course try to kill and whatnot. The story is told through the perspective of the baby or their daughter, which is so interesting, and it's just a fantastic adult series. So I can't wait to jump back into this series and fully enjoy it. Alright you guys, that is all for this video. Once again, please allow me to apologize for the horrible background noise that my neighbor had so kindly provided for us today, and I hope it was not too distracting. Hopefully you got through the entire video. If you did, please give me some thumbs up if you enjoyed it, regardless of the horrible noise. And if you would like to see more of my videos, don't forget to subscribe down below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you very soon in another video. Bye!